Hello and welcome to a new video. In today's video we're going to take a look at Morpeko in the Open Great League. The Open Great League is back, and today we're going to have a team here that I actually stole from Weedle, former world champion, also a good friend, and also someone who has always very similar teams to what I would build. And so today we're going to have Morpeko in the lead, we're going to have the Say-Swap of the Goodra, and we're going to have the Azumarill in the lead. In the back, of course, not in the lead. Anyway, we're going to see here, there is going to be a double weakness for us, which is going to be the double weakness of Fairy-type Pokemon with our lead as well as our Say-Swap, which can be a little bit of a trickier one, but generally speaking, shouldn't be really the biggest issue for this team here, as we're going to have a lead that is going to be good against the best Fairy-type Pokemon around. It is basically currently, you only really see a Azumarill being played. You're going to have, with Morpeko, a Pokemon that can easily deal with this Pokemon anyway, making it not really a big issue for this one. So you always gonna want to consider, is that weakness of the team really a weakness? For example, here, we're going to see a Fairy-type Pokemon, which is going to be the Azumarill, and that is totally fine for us. And so as we're going to see as well, we're going to be able to go for a Play Rough. And we still have 3 Pokemon left, but we still have to be a little bit mindful, as we know that we need the Goodra here still for later on, and we still kind of have to deal with that alone in Sandslash as well. So how are we going to do this? We are very likely going to swap out very soon into the Morpeko, trying to either catch a move or get out the opponent's Sandslash, which also works out quite well for us. Ice Punch is going to knock us out, but at least we're going to be able to go back into the Azumarill, allowing us to go for a big Play Rough in order to try to knock out the opponent's Sandslash. It's going to get them into 1 HP range, and we still should be even able to swipe a move here from the opponent, which is going to be great, as we're going to see the opponent's Azumarill coming back in. They're going to go for a charge move, and this is going to guarantee me now as well that I can go for at least one Thunder Punch with that Goodra, as Goodra can still take a hit. Either the Ice Beam or the Play Rough are both going to be fine here, as you're going to see Play Rough does around 75% damage, and this guy still allows us to go for the Thunder Punch, knocking out the opponent's Azumarill, and we can move on to the second battle. So, next opponent, we're going to encounter the Ariados here. This is going to be a matchup where we're going to be able to, do 2 things. Either we're going to go for the Aurelial, which is going to do a ton of damage, or we're going to go for the Psychic Fangs, which is also going to do a ton of damage, a little bit less though, but drops the opponent's defense. It's a bit cheaper. Yeah, like we have only really good choices here, generally speaking, but I'm not too sure we're always going to be able to win this matchup. It really depends on how much damage a neutral Aurelial actually going to do here against an opponent's Ariados. Again, Aurelial is one of the strongest moves in the game. Doing 100 damage for 45 energy is ridiculous while boosting your own attack by 1 stage. And as you're going to see here, we're going to see that Ariados has to take a move now. We should be at neutral attack stage after this one as well. And this is going to allow us now with +1 to get to another move very, very soon. But they're going to swap out into the Azumarill. Very bad fast move time by me. The opponent still gets a bubble through, which is not really ideal. And with this, we're going to still get to the next form of Morpeko, allowing us to go for another Aurelial, getting a big boom in here as well. And this is going to allow us now to move on to the next opponent, kinda, as the opponent's Feraliga not going to have the greatest time, especially not if we're going to be able to catch that move onto the Azumarill, allowing us to easily win this game, catch an Ice Beam, and the opponent decides to forfeit. So, next opponent coming through, we're going to have Gaston lead. That's kind of horrible for us, but yeah, again, team from Weedle, I don't really want to take any credit for this. I didn't really have the time to do the battles here. Funnily enough, today we have the battles 1 hour earlier for me, because time zones kind of changed here in Europe, which is really good for me because I don't really like to do the battles at 10, but soon I have to do them again at that time. But yeah, I definitely really appreciate, by the way, everyone who's watching this one, taking the time from the day to watch my content. Really appreciate this one. Also, if you haven't seen, I made a beginner's guide earlier on this day as well, so definitely check that one out as well if you want to take a look at this one. I gave you some tips as well for already some advanced players on how to get a little bit better as well, so that's kind of something for everyone. But check out that video, it was a lot of effort, would really appreciate it. Anyway, we're going to see the Drapion here against us. This kind of forces us now to go into our Azumarill. We still have 2 shields, but we have Azumarill that needs to deal basically with both of the opponent's Pokemon, which is going to be a bit of a trickier one here, as we're going to see as well that the Drapion is a very spammy Pokemon. There's one more issue here with the Drapion as well. Being a part Dark type is usually good for a Fairy type Pokemon, but the Poison typing definitely doesn't help, as a Play Rough is still not enough to knock them out, forcing us to kinda use a shield eventually. And yeah, so we're gonna use a shield here. Crunch is coming through, the opponent can stop out into the gas turn, and I guess our only play is to catch a move here, which does work out kinda well for us, but we just sadly don't have enough energy really to go for the charge moves that we want to go for. As player F is coming through here against the opponent, that's kinda nice of course, but it's not going to do enough damage, and they can still get to another body slam here, winning them the battle, losing us the battle, but we can move on to the next opponent afterwards. Raging Test. This is a name that if you play PvP for a long time, it definitely should be familiar, and it's very cool to see him here as well again. That's like one of like the OG battlers for PvP, like early on, first few seasons, like this was like one of the best battlers in the world. Haven't literally heard anything about Raging Test in the last like 2-3 years, so very cool to see them basically being back here. We battling them out in like very high-ish elo range as well. So very cool to see this name again here. I always like to play against people that I know already from like back in the day, like Galax Cobolton, which is also like a very famous battler now as well from like the Play Pokemon tournaments. And so like one of those that I really still remember from really early days on playing PvP and like top level, like first few seasons, was always a lot of fun. But yeah, seeing those old names is always kind of a little bit of nostalgia, kind of realizing on how long PvP actually already exists as well, which is kind of mad, especially thinking about on how little this feature gets kind of pushed from Niantic. But yeah, anyway, we're going to see here the Oriole coming through against the opponent's Dugong, allowing us to take the knockout while still maintaining a ton of energy to get another knockout against the Drapion. So let's see what's going to be in the back. It's literally deciding everything. If it's going to be a counter to a Azumarill, it's going to be a bit tricky, but we're still going to be able to reach that Psychic Fangs no matter what here, and it's not going to be a counter against Azumarill, but Azumarill is a counter against them, allowing us to have a very good matchup here as well, as the opponent is going to decide to forfeit as soon as they saw the Azumarill. So, next opponent, we're going to see the Marowak against us. That's going to be an interesting one, as you're going to swap out here directly into the Goodra, allowing us to go for even the Thunder Punch against the opponent's for Relegator. That is going to be quite decent, as we're going to get the shield from the opponent, and as I decide to go for the own charge move, I decide to use a shield here as well. The main reason is, if we realign ourselves, we're going to be very in a decent spot there. We're going to have the ground type against our water type Pokemon, and we avoid the ground type with our Morpeko. But not only this, we're going to be able to store up a ton of energy here, allowing us to go for some super effective Awkward Tails against the opponent's ground type Pokemon here, doing very, very solid damage and allowing us to get the shield from the opponent, so we can try our best. By the way, if the audio quality is a little bit different there, I just have to try to talk a little bit quieter today and have the microphone a little bit up for that now, just the way it is. It's very late here today, so why not? We're going to see here the Morpeko against us, and this is actually a very solid matchup for us again, because we got a little bit of previous damage with a bubble against the opponent. They're going to be a little bit in a position where they're going to be forced to go for a charge move very soon. And weirdly enough, they decided to go for an Oriole over the Psychic Fangs. Psychic Fangs would make more sense in this scenario, but we're going to be able to go for the full farm down with the Azumarill, and they decide to forfeit. Generally speaking, there's another issue for this team. This is going to be Pokemon like Superior. Like Pokemon that are going to be very good against both my lead as well as my Pokemon in the back, which are not that many, but like Superior or like generally speaking Grass type Pokemon, definitely going to be a little bit tricky for both of our Pokemon there. But then again, it also kind of depends on what kind of Pokemon you have around it, I guess, or like what kind of energy management you're going to be able to do during the battle, because Grass type Pokemon, we have Ice Beam on the Azumarill. We're still going to be able to go for something like an Oriole with the Dark typing against the opponent's Grass type Pokemon here as well. And so it's not going to be always a clear-cut victory for the Grass type boys. As you're going to see here, we're going to go for the Oriole. Very likely going to be able to get the shield from the opponent, which does work out as well. And as you're going to see here, we're going to try our best to go for our Psychic Fangs afterwards. We use a shield because it's going to be our best answer to the opponent's Superior. But as we will see here, they're going to go for another charge move way faster than expected, making this a very, very tough matchup for us. We can go for another Psychic Fang straight afterwards. This is going to allow us to get the shield from the opponent, and we try our best. The opponent goes for another charge move. It is going to be, though, the Ariados, and we can still survive with 1 HP, allowing us to get to that extra Psychic Fangs here, doing a ton of damage because they're debuffed, we are boosted, so doing just quite a lot of damage there. Here comes Azumarill. We can try our best to get as much energy as possible, but now it depends on what is going to be there in the back. We're going to see sadly a Bastion, so we're going to forfeit. Anyway, next opponent, we're going to see the Ariados here. Aurora is going to be a Pokemon where Ariel definitely going to do a ton of damage, but it's going to be an interesting matchup. I haven't played against Ariados at all. It's a very, very spamming Pokemon, and honestly, very interesting for the current meta. I think it has a lot of potential. It is quite highly ranked as well, so maybe it's going to be a Pokemon I can take a look at as well. Again, this Pokemon definitely is going to be one of those that I like in the Ultra League, but I haven't really played it too much in the Open Great League, even though I have a great, even shiny Pokemon of this one. Anyway, as you can see, we're going to have the full Farmland against the Auroras, getting us a ton of energy, but this is not only the only thing here. We're going to also have the Superior, allowing us to go for 1 Psychic Fangs, getting some damage against them. And now with the Ariel, we're going to be able to force a shield, while also boosting our own attack, which is kind of great, as now we are going to be able to, align our Goodra against the opponent. And this is going to be very important, especially as you're going to see the final Pokemon being the Azumarill. This allows us to go for 1 Thunder Punch here to get some previous damage against the opponent's Azumarill after we swap out now as well into our own. We're going to have a great matchup here with the additional damage that we already have against the opponent. But not only this, if you think about this game a little bit further, we're going to very likely have the Superior aligned against our Azumarill very soon, but that's going to allow us then later on to farm them down with the Goodra, allowing us to get up to some more Thunder Punches. And as we're going to hit this player off, the opponent is now in range for Thunder Punch, which is maybe very important for us later on as well. But we have to see, because we actually still survive the Frenzy Plant and we can knock them out with 1 Ice Beam, which is good and bad at the same time. I actually don't knock them out because we can still even go for the full farm down here. But we have to hope that we can still survive this hit here, otherwise it is going to be game over. As we will see here, we're going to still be able to survive, go for the Thunder Punch, knock out the opponent, and we can move on to the next one. I am fairly certain this is going to be the current regional champion, and let's see if we're going to be able to battle them and win them. We're going to have here a very interesting scenario where the opponent actually makes the right call. If I went for Ariel, the opponent's Dragonite would be gone immediately, but they decided to let the move go through, which is a very smart play. By the way, this is going to be the first time here as well that I play Morpeko in the lead, and I have to say, this Pokemon is just amazing no matter where you play it. I'm fairly certain it can literally play every single role in the current Go Battle League format. Very sad to see that this Pokemon got banned from the Player Pokemon tournaments though, mainly because there's actually currently a bug going on with Morpeko. Maybe I'll make a video about it, but generally speaking, there is a way of basically forcing Morpeko to not transform, which of course is going to be something important because transforming changes the typing of the move Ariel, making matchups completely different sometimes. Here, as you're going to see, the opponent is going to be in an interesting spot. They decide to go for an Awkward Tail against our Morpeko, which is fine, but we have now the players on our side, and we're looking in a very decent spot here. They're still going to have their Dragonite, but they're also going to have their Quagsire, which should go down to 1 player off basically. At this point, the opponent decided to use a shield on the first one, so I'm going to decide to go for the bait here for the next one, expecting a shield here coming up again, as they don't even know if I maybe even don't even have the Ice Beam, but anyway, at this point, I will be able to reach the player off next up as well. We just have to hope that the Stone Edge doesn't do enough damage to put me into range for a Superpower from the opponent's Dragonite. Superpower is going to be resisted, so it's going to be a very, very close matchup here if we're going to be able to survive it or not. Let's see if it's going to be doing enough damage or not. It is barely going to knock us out, and so that's going to be a good game to the opponent. Magnezone in the lead. This can be a little bit of a tricky Pokemon for this team as well, being able to beat basically the entire team on basically the paper there, but also gonna see we're gonna be able to go for an Ariel, we're gonna be able to get some energy there as well afterwards, but also the opponent has crazy luck, to be fair. We're gonna see the Mirror Shot coming in, and the Mirror Shot allows them to drop my own attack, which is really, really bad for me. But even if I want to use a shield here against the Psychic things, I would be kind of happy with the situation that we would be in. Weirdly enough, the opponent decides to go into the Arctibax here now, which is going to be a matchup where we can at least go for the Psychic Fangs, getting the first shield, but they're also going to try to go for the full farm down. That does not work out against a spamming Pokemon like the Morpeko here, allowing us to go for another move, forcing bullshits from the opponent just for them to be aligned against our Azumarill, which is a complete hardball to the Arctibax. The energy completely goes to waste, and as long as I'm going to be able to beat the final Pokemon with a combination of Azumarill and my Goodra, I will be fine. And it's going to be Goodra against Goodra, which is going to be very good for us, as we know now, this game is over. Awkward Tail is coming through from ourselves. This is going to be even enough to get them into range I can fully farm them down afterwards, and they're forced to go for moves like the Power Whip here in order to do a ton of damage against me, but they decide to forfeit anyway. Into the final battle of today's video. We're going to encounter another Dragonite lead here as well, which is not really ideal, but the thing is you can always play out those matchups as well with your Morpeko for a little bit. Again, I'm going to go for the bait here again. If the opponent decided to let the move go through and I would have been the other one, it would have instantly knocked them out. But also we're going to be able to even use a shield here and get a shield advantage against the opponent while lining our Zoom roll then afterwards against the opponent's Dragonite, which might be very, very good for us. But it is gonna be always a little bit of a tricky scenario. As you can see here, we're gonna be able to go into our Zoom roll now against the opponent's Dragonite, and we will see the Dunsparce coming back in. Dunsparce, a Pokemon that is going to be very neutral here. A very interesting Pokemon in the current meta anyway is, Drill Run plus the boosted rollout is a very, very strong combination in the current meta and also makes it very difficult for Zero to win the matchup. By the looks of things, we should be able to two-shot them though with the Play Rough, which is very important for us, as this is going to allow us now as well to at least knock them out in time and force maybe the opponent to go for a superpower against our own Zero, but it's going to be a bit of a tricky matchup still, as the opponent has a ton of energy on that Dragonite. We have to be mindful as they're going to reveal the final Pokemon being the Toxapex. This is going to be tough because Toxapex is going to be a Pokemon that has options to knock out my entire team with a Sludge Wave doing a ton of damage. They swap out into the Dragonite, allowing me to go straight for the Thunder Punch, which hopefully is going to be enough to knock them out. They had some energy there, but we're going to be able to go for the knockout before they can reach their move. And also, we're going to still be able to go for a Thunder Punch here now, which is going to allow us to hopefully swap out afterwards, but it's going to be very, very close if we can swap out in time. And we are going to be able to swap out, catching the move here. Is it the Sludge Wave? It is, and with this, we're going to be able to win the battle, as you are going to see here, the opponent decides to forfeit. And this is going to be it for this video. Thanks all for watching, I will see you tomorrow. And this is going to be it for this one. Bye bye.